I'm Nintendo.
And I'm Sega.
This is Console Wars! Dude, I am so bored. Nothing ever happens around here.
What are you talking about? Dude, crazy stuff happens to us all the time.
Like what?
Ah, darn it, another dead end! I know. Maybe these fellers over here can help us.
Alright, hang on, Random Vikings. Like what crazy stuff?
Hello, Vikings!
Yeah, you know, we are the Vikings, but, we're from the past, and,
we want to go home!
Yeah, that.
So you're Vikings that are lost.
And you need to find your way home.
That sounds just like...
Homeward Bound!
Homeward Bound?
Yeah, they need to find their way home, just like the pets in Homeward Bound.
I guess.
Well, I was hoping maybe you guys could, maybe help us. We lost our third companion, and, without him and his talents, we're kinda stuck.
Why? What did he do?
Well, he was the only one in our group who could,
He jump!
Yeah.
Jump? Like crisscross will make you?
Or more like Van Halen jump.
No! Jump!
Yeah, he can get both feet off the ground at the same time.
Talented!
Why can't you guys just jump?
See, we each have one ability. I'm Balak. I'm the sword of the group.
I, Olaf. I, shield.
Yeah, I know that, but you can jump too.
Yeah, both of you. It's not hard.
Olaf not jump. Olaf only shield.
I mean, I guess we could stay here until we figure something out.
Well, stay here.
They kinda smell like goat pee. Trust me. That's goat pee.
Yeah, but, we can't go unless we get help with jumping.
We can jump.
Yeah, we can totally help you.
Gratitude.
So one Viking has a sword, one has a shield, and another jumps.
Yeah, dude, I'm telling you, that's just like...
Homeward Bound!
Homeward Bound, what are you talking about?
Well, there are 3 of them, and there were 3 pets in Homeward Bound. Look, I just watched it recently, it's all I can reference, okay?
Well, I was gonna say just like Lost Vikings, the video game.
Oh yeah, it is. Man, what a great game for the Sega Genesis.
Yeah, but it's definitely better for the Super Nintendo.
What? That's it! Are we doing this?
Yeah.
Best Lost Vikings.
The Lost Vikings is a puzzle platformer originally released in 1993. It was published by Interplay and developed by Silicon and Synapse, which later became Blizzard Entertainment. Upon release, the game received positive reviews. A sequel, Lost Vikings 2, was released in 1997.
The Lost Vikings was released for many consoles, Amiga, Amiga CD32, MS-DOS, and even Game Boy Advance in 2003. The versions we're looking at today are the ones for the Super Nintendo and Sega Genesis. Very similar games, but there are some differences. Which one's better? Let's find out.
The games do have the same look.
Almost identical.
Both games have the same looking characters, same looking levels, and same looking character animations.
Some of the enemies and items are different colors, but other than that, these games look almost identical.
Even though they look similar, I gotta say it, Sega has a wider screen resolution.
Again, when it comes to similar looking games, the screen resolution of the Sega game is wider than Super Nintendo's. Get an eyeful of these wacky worlds on Sega Genesis.
It's really not that bad.
The characters in both games are small enough as it is, but the Super Nintendo screen resolution makes them look bigger. Everything looks bigger on the Super Nintendo. This lets you see more detail on the Super Nintendo game.
Yeah, but I can see more level in my game.
Okay, you might have better screen resolution, but I have something I always have. Better use of color.
Look how much more vibrant the colors are in the Super Nintendo game. Everything just pops more. It's much more muted on Sega.
Now, speaking of more colorful, check out my bombs.
When a bomb goes off on the Super Nintendo, the whole screen flashes. Pretty sweet. And now check out what happens on Sega. No flash.
Well, I got flashes too.
Look at the ending on Sega. See how the whole screen flashes colors during this concert? And on Super Nintendo, only the stage flashes colors.
Well, flashing colors aside, my game still has more details.
Look at the background on this Super Nintendo level. It has more details than the practically blank Sega game. Just look at this stage. Lots of blinking lights everywhere on Super Nintendo. On Sega, no blinking lights anywhere. Is it even a spaceship with no blinking lights? I don't think it is.
They're similar, but my game still looks better.
With flashy bombs, better use of color, more details, and blinky lights, best graphics go to Super Nintendo.
We have similar presentation too.
Both games have the same title screen, same intro cutscenes, same Viking funeral game over screens, and same rock concert endings.
Right, but mine's better. Look at these transitions.
Look what happens between levels on Super Nintendo. You get a cool transition. This happens at the beginning and end of every level. It also happens if you leave the game idle for a while. And what does the Sega do? Absolutely nothing.
Transition isn't that impressive.
Yeah? Well, maybe my exclusive cutscenes are.
Exclusive to the Super Nintendo is this cutscene of the Vikings going between time periods. You don't have this at all. The Sega Genesis probably couldn't handle this cool effect.
Well, I have exclusive cutscenes too, and mine much better.
Every time you get to a new world, the Sega game has an exclusive cutscene. There's lots of things here. First, you get the name of the world. Then, you see new gameplay elements and how to perform them. And last but not least, you get dialogue between the main characters. For every world. An excellent exclusive addition to the Sega Genesis.
As always, I still like mine better.
That? How?
Sure, the Super Nintendo flying through space and time might look impressive, but it's really not. They reuse this cutscene every time you get to a new world. Every time. It never changes. It doesn't tell you anything about the world. No names, no dialogue, nothing. You can keep your space travel. I'll take the funny Viking cutscenes on Sega any day.
Those cutscenes aren't that good.
Dude, you're missing some funny stuff.
Vikings aren't funny. Look, they're terrifying.
So the Isis wrecked them and damn near killed them.
Bearlock always make funny.
Well, those cutscenes go a long way. I definitely have the better presentation.
For having exclusive cutscenes that tell you the world, show new gameplay elements, and include dialogue between the characters, best presentation goes to Sega Genesis.
The music in both games is pretty much the same too.
A lot of the same tracks, but there are some differences.
This Super Nintendo track has better instrumentation and a better beat.
But the Sega makes up for it with bass and grittiness.
Instrumentation and beats on Super Nintendo.
Bass and grittiness on Sega.
And mine's better.
No, mine's definitely better.
Alright, let's talk about the one track on different stages. It sounds better on the Super Nintendo because of more vocal samples.
This track has lots of vocal samples on Super Nintendo. On Sega, not as many.
Speaking of vocal samples, my grunts sound better too.
Here's a grunt on Super Nintendo. Sounds like a grunt. And on Sega, I don't know what that's supposed to be.
It doesn't sound that bad.
Who grunts like that?
you see? Vikings do make that sound when they arm wrestle.
What's that? Oh no, we're not arm wrestling. We're helping each other go to the bathroom. Hey, I hope you don't mind. I didn't know how to use this weird bucket.
Let's get back to music. We actually have different Prehistoria tracks.
The Prehistoria track on Super Nintendo sounds okay. Prehistoric sounding, but kind of forgettable. Now listen to the track on Sega. It has a much better beat and a melody you can actually follow.
Still kind of like mine better.
Okay, well, how's about the fact that my game has one more song?
Exclusive to the Sega Genesis is this great factory track. Super Nintendo doesn't have it on any level, so it just reuses this song from the opening cutscene. And overall, the Super Nintendo sound by Charles Deanon isn't as cool as Sega's sound by Matt Furness.
My sound is better.
For having a beat-driven Prehistoria song with a melody, and having one more song in general, best sound goes to Sega Genesis.
Our gameplay is identical.
Both games have you playing as one of 3 Vikings. Each Viking has a special ability. Eric can run fast, jump, and ram down certain walls. Olaf can block any attack with his shield. You can also use that shield to glide, or even hold up objects or characters. Balok can attack, close range with a sword, or from a distance with a bow and arrow. The bow and arrow can even be upgraded in some levels.
Object of the game is pretty simple. You have to make it to the end of the stage. Each stage is a cleverly designed puzzle which requires you to use all 3 characters. All 3 have to make it to the exit, or else you have to start from the beginning of the stage. There are some enemies in your way too, but no bosses. Until the final stage.
You can restart the stage by having all 3 characters die, or by simply pausing and giving up. And expect to restart these levels a lot, because these puzzles are trial and error, so expect to error.
Also spread throughout each level are items. They range from keys, to health, to bombs, to weapons upgrades. Items cannot be carried over from one stage to the next, but it's probably a good thing since each character can only hold 4 items. You can also transfer items between characters as long as they're standing next to each other.
Now the controls. You have 1 or 2 buttons for each character's ability, 2 buttons to switch between characters, 1 button to access items, 1 button to use that selected item, and 1 button to pause. Lots of buttons. So on Genesis, it's much easier with the 6-button controller. Otherwise, using items and switching between characters requires you to hold start with other buttons. Not fun.
These games are long. Sometimes one level can take over an hour to solve. Luckily, these games have an easy 4-letter password system. Definitely not a game you'll easily beat in one sitting.
There's also the option to play this game in 1 or 2-player mode. The first player controls 2 characters, while second player controls the third. To change the focus of the camera, you need to hit A, B, and C on Sega, or L and R on Super Nintendo.
So they're pretty much the same.
I don't know, are they?
Oh, you better not be talking about screen resolution.
I mean, it wasn't. But why not?
The wider screen resolution does come in handy for platforming and projectile attacks. Go Sega.
It doesn't make your game better.
Maybe not. But let's talk about using items.
Both games have a button that lets you access your item menu. This also pauses everything on screen. On Sega, you can use this item while still in the menu and while the game is paused. Not on Super Nintendo, you need to exit the item menu. Only then can you use the item. Not only is this faster on Sega, but safer too. If you're surrounded by enemies, you can replenish your life safely while everything is paused. You can't do that on Super Nintendo, you have to use the items in real time. You don't get to relax like you do on Sega.
That is really nitpicking.
Oh, I can nitpick more, because actually, my game's also a little faster.
The loading between stages is almost non-existent on Sega. Not on Super Nintendo, it takes a lot longer to load. Not enough to ruin the game, but it's definitely noticeable.
Okay, using items and a longer load time, but we still have the same gameplay.
Actually, we don't. The Sega Genesis has more multiplayer.
Both games let you play as 1 or 2 players, but the Sega game, with a little help from the multi-tap, lets you play 3 players. An exclusive 3-player mode, one for each Viking, only on Sega Genesis. And you still use A, B, and C to change the camera's focus for each character. But it only works with the official multi-tap, not this piece of junk from EA.
Ugh. 3 players, big deal. Like you even have 2 other friends to play it with.
Oh yeah! Oh yeah!
Fun time.
Yeah.
It's fun.
Oh, it's such a fun time.
Okay, get out of my chair.
Well, even if that doesn't convince you, maybe this will. My game has 5 exclusive levels.
The Super Nintendo game has 37 levels. The Sega game has 42. That's 5 exclusive levels on Sega Genesis. They don't exist on Super Nintendo or any of the other versions either. Not only are those levels exclusive, but so is the dialogue that the characters have at the end of those levels. Looks like Sega is the more complete Lost Viking experience.
And with all that, my gameplay definitely has the edge.
For being able to use items in the menu, shorter loading times, a 3-player mode, and 5 exclusive levels, best gameplay goes to Sega Genesis. Both games are almost identical, but one is better. And that game is Lost Vikings for the Sega Genesis. Boom. It may not have the bright colors or details of the Super Nintendo game, but it still looks good. It has better presentation with exclusive cutscenes that display the world name, show new gameplay elements, and have dialogue between the characters. It has better sound with a more upbeat Prehistoria track and an exclusive Great Factory track. And it has better gameplay with easier item use, quicker loading times, 3-player mode, and having 5 exclusive levels. The Super Nintendo game isn't bad. It looks better and plays just as well as the Sega game, but Sega has more cutscenes, more songs, more multiplayer, and more levels. It's the more complete game. What more could you want? Best Lost Vikings goes to Sega Genesis.
They're getting restless.
Yeah, I think we should help get these guys home.
Let us embark on our dangerous quest.
It's gonna be pretty sweet. I got a shotgun. This is really boring.
Seriously.
Oh no! Gap!
Ah, jeez. You two are gonna have to jump over and figure out a way across.
Listen, this is just getting ridiculous now. We've been jumping over these little gaps for hours. You guys can just jump.
I don't think you guys understand. I'm the sword.
I shield!
And you jump. We simply can't.
No, you're gonna jump. You know why? 'Cause this is it. This is the moment where you guys turn it all around. You're not gonna rely on us or anybody else anymore. You're gonna be jumping over everything. Water, spikes, gaps, stairs, you name it. You're gonna jump, and you're gonna jump good. This is gonna be the greatest moment in your lives. So go out there and jump!
By Odin, he's right. We can jump.
Jump good!
Here I go.
Is he sinking?
Yeah, I think he is.
Sinking? Ah, jeez, I jumped in quicksand.
Oh, no worry, Bela. I jump and save you.
Olaf! I'll save you, buddy. I think I can get out if I just move this. Yep, it's definitely slowing down.
Are you thinking what I'm thinking?
Yup.
Thanks for checking out our latest video. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Special thanks to Old School Video Game King for his donations of both games. And thanks to everyone who suggested Lost Vikings. Keep those suggestions coming, we will get to them. Also, check us out on Patreon, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram for more console wars goodness. Later.
Yeah!